Welcome back, everybody. Derrick Soo, your East Oakland advocate. Well, in our last episode, I talked about my Jeet Kune Do Trinity and then attaining the first enlightenment. And uh, in my training through the Sifus that uh, I've had four Sifus uh, in my Wing Chun training and my Jeet Kune Do training, because it is mixed martial arts. Everybody's Jeet Kune Do is going to be different, but there's always the consistent, the trinity that always is part of martial arts: body, mind, and soul. And so I've started talking about the spirituality, the soul portion, and enlightenment uh, to the first enlightenment. And I'm going to talk about the other enlightenments here and what they mean. And each are a milestone of attainment. And each time that you attain it, you'll be very aware that you've attained enlightenment in this subject, and that it's time to move on to the next enlightenment. And your Sifu will guide you through that. And it's not something that happens rapidly. Um, I'm trying to think. It was about 5 years, about 5 years of enlightenment training, my chi training through meditation. And I'm going to talk more about meditation as we go on through for the second, third, and fourth enlightenment, and what each of those are about. And so, getting on to the second enlightenment, because if you want to know more about the first enlightenment, go back to the last episode, and it'll explain it to you. So, starting at this, you've attained your first enlightenment, and now you're able to uh, become one with the different energies in your space. And that space can be a very small space, or it can be a slightly larger space. It can be uh, perhaps the size of a backyard. And that's a great place to practice uh, your to attain your first enlightenment. And once you've attained that, the first enlightenment, where you can become one chi energy with the different life forms, the different creatures, whatever's living in the space and the time that you're in. And um, you want to focus on another creature, a living creature. It could be an insect, a hummingbird, a seagull, a duck, a dog, a cat, a squirrel. It can be any kind of animal. And what you're working to attain is to tap into its energy, where you can read its energy, and sense its thoughts. It may be very difficult at times. The smaller the animal, the faster the thoughts, and so it's very difficult keeping up with them, because our minds move much slower than the small critters like squirrels and rats and birds. And you'll find that you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you've reached uh, that first enlightenment, because you automatically be able to sense this and feel this, because what you're in the first enlightenment, what you're developing are all of your senses to a heightened state. That's basically what you're doing, to a heightened state. And once you've reached that heightened state, now you're working to develop your energy to tap into the energy of another creature or being, whatever that may be. And that takes time. It took me some time, nearly a year, to attain that, where I could literally read and understand the thoughts of another creature or another person. And that's where the second enlightenment really begins to kick in and things really start moving fast here. One, and you'll know you're in the second enlightenment because number one, you'll be able to understand animals. You know, just like my dog, I know exactly what she's saying or what she's trying to communicate with me. So, and that's been the way it was with all of my animals. So they understood me. I understood them very, very well. I may not have been well understood by people, but that's people thing. Um, but the second enlightenment is about reading and understanding other creatures' chi, their energies, and then being able to understand their thoughts, their emotions, and even their pain. That's the second enlightenment. And once you achieve that, uh, you can empathize with people more readily. And that's why I've been very successful as a homeless encampment leader. And I always try to work at setting the example for everybody and keeping my word at all times. So that goes with keeping a high set of ethics and morals. Once you reach that second enlightenment, it's very exciting. I'll say because you're nearing completion. You're moving on to the third enlightenment. Once you're able to truly understand and feel the other person's energy, and you don't even have to look at them, but you can, because your senses are now developed, where their chi is coming in like a newspaper, like a streaming service all the time. And your chi receptors are now fully active. And like I said, things get really exciting because not only do you have a level of understanding and feeling their pain and emotions, but also now you're going to be able to develop other skills because that you are now able to tap into the thoughts, the energies of other creatures. That brings us to the third enlightenment. The third enlightenment is about thought control and how you can distract or disable a sensory perception of a creature or a person. And I I love this because I did this quite a bit in my homeless camp, and it saved me. I gave you an example in the last episode of an attack that gave me early warning while I was asleep. But then also, I was able, through my thought process, to convince very dangerous criminals not to engage in a fight or a shootout with me. And that was many times I was able to mind control that leader who actually backed down, much like what you see in Star Wars with the stormtroopers. Their minds are very soft and very receptive to other influence, a strong influence. And so that's what you're doing. Your third enlightenment is thought control, mind control, reading, deciphering, and then also with that, because you can control their senses, their sensory in their mind through their chi, you can also make yourself invisible. And how you make yourself invisible, which I did, is redirect their thoughts. And by redirecting their thoughts, the other sensories, even though their eyes may see you, the brain doesn't, because you have temporarily distracted the incoming images from the eyes to the brain. The brain's not receiving them. They don't see it. They just saw the last picture, and that's all the mind sees. And so that's the part of the thought and mind control that is part of the third enlightenment. And I used it many, many times. And then it also works in the form that once you understand and know the chi of different people, you can literally keep your back to them, and like I did on many occasions, and they just come into my shelter unannounced, didn't say a thing, and I greet them by name without even turning around, and it shocks them. Yeah. So that's another element of that, and that's the next one is really important, and I use the example from the TV show Kung Fu back in 1972, because it shows a portion where uh, Kane moves through silent without breaking even the softest and most fragile rice paper. He can walk in silence. And we do that in real life. And there's been many times when I've walked up on people from behind or even from the side, and they didn't hear or sense me coming or getting near them until all of a sudden I'm there, and then I allow their mind to see me again, and then, oh, where'd you come from? Have you ever had that happen to you? You probably did the same thing, but weren't aware that you were doing it. And so the other and the final thing, which is a lifesaver, is reading and understanding negative chi at a distance. And I trained my chi to go out 25 yards, and that took a lot of time. That took some time to do, to go 25 yards, and like I said, it once it's developed and it's on, it's very hard to turn it off. It always runs in the background, much like programs run on your computer, and you don't know it. But the same thing happens uh, with your chi. It's always working, whether you sleep or are awake. And so, um, attaining all of that brings us to the fourth enlightenment. And this is the complete and fulfillment of your development and training, which for me was 7 years of Chi training and development before I reached the fourth enlightenment. And the fourth enlightenment is really uh, important for your satisfaction, and it helps you understand you, because the fourth enlightenment, you're able to step outside of your earthbound body, and through your spirit uh, are able to travel and speak to other chi energies that are out there. And so people talk about, yeah, they were at some place or somewhere uh, sometime. Uh, Having the ability to transcend time, going back to look at your beginning, is possible, because I looked at mine. I had a pretty good childhood. I up until a certain point, and once it, it's a good review. But then also because once you leave your earthbound body, time does not exist. Uh, and I was able to see my future. Not that I remember any, because it, since it has not happened yet, it has not been recorded, and so I do not see that. Even though I saw it through my fourth enlightenment, I until it occurs, I won't remember it, and that's by plan, because nobody needs to know their final and it could be very pleasant, it could be very negative, but you don't need to know that. And that's just part of the fourth enlightenment. And you're able to communicate with other uh, energies that exist out there and communicate without speaking. Like how I'm speaking to you, you're not speaking that way. You're not communicating that way. You communicate through your soul, your thoughts, your your internal training, your internal real you. And one of the things that I also want to say is that whether you believe in God or not, uh, there is also, like in Star Wars, the dark side, and it does exist. I've been there. I had some issues in the past that sent me to a dark place, but I've recovered and I'm back. But I do want to say that there is good chi out there and there's bad chi. The bad chi is um, is the dark side, and good chi I can best describe as love, you know, unbridled love. Uh, when it touches you, good chi touches you, and you are in communication with good chi. It is just the best feeling, and one that you never want to be without. Uh, it is also hope. Good chi is hope, and then finally, good chi are dreams. These are wishes in your dreams. So the good chi only wants the best for you. The dark side, it's a horrible place, and battling that, um, I went up against a really negative chi uh, a long time ago when I was back at a crossroads. I defeated that negative chi, and the good thing is that it has not been back since because um, I stand and will always be on the side of good chi. Thanks for joining me today. I hope that helps you understand the trinity of my JKD, JKD, Jeet Kune Do.